the legendary Viking Ragnar Lothbrok, a real Viking hero whose life became lost to legend. Now, we have a map indicating that the Vikings went all the way into Europe, all the way into the Mediterranean Sea, but they also went across from Scotland, Scandinavia, Scotland, Faroe Islands, Iceland, Greenland, and to the northeastern shore of the United States. Now, Ragnar Lothbrok was a fearless Viking hero. He ransacked England and France, fathered the great heathen army. However, the historicity of the man with hairy breeches is subject to debate. Where does Ragnar, the man, end and the myth actually begin? Ragnar Lothbrok, also known as Ragnar Lothbrok, became widely known thanks to the History Channel series Vikings. As with the legendary King Arthur, Ragnar Lothbrok appears as an amalgamation of a number of historical personages and minor characters of legend. The mythical marauder. There's a theory that the folk heroes and demigods we know today were common men who did quite extraordinary things, for which they were rewarded with stories about them being told to later generations. And as the years went on and generations passed, these stories gilded the characters, made them more godlike. That seems to be the case with Ragnar Lothbrok, whose actual existence is doubted by many scholars. But there are a respectable number of historians who suggest that Ragnar did live, but his story was exaggerated to the point that he became a mythical figure. Kindly support my Patreon account since YouTube has again demonetized my YouTube channel. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below. He most likely was a warlord who was the first Scandinavian to invade Britain. He's mentioned in several Nordic sagas, the most significant being the saga of Ragnar Lothbrok and the Gesta Danorum, which is believed to be the most illustrious literary work to come out of medieval Denmark. It was describing the country's early history. The Anglo-Saxon chronicles also refer to Ragnall and Regin Hurus as a powerful and prominent Viking raider from 1840 AD. These names are believed to be 2 variations of the name Ragnar. Many names, one man. Both the name Ragnar and the nickname Lothbrok, which must not be confused with the surname, had many variations in the accounts of the age. Lothbrok could be interpreted as hairy breeches or shaggy breeches in Old Norse. He's said to have crafted the breeches in preparation to fight a dragon or giant serpent to stop him from biting him. His name could be written as Ragnar or Regner, while his nickname could be written as Lothbrok or Lothbrog. The legendary Viking hero was also a king of Denmark and Sweden. He was also known as Ragnar Sigurdsson, as he was said to be the Swedish king Sigurd Ring's or Hring's son in some accounts. And when Ragnar grew up, he was a handsome man who was a strong warrior. Ragnar Lothbrok's exploits. His martial prowess showed. Ragnar is believed to have been the scourge of both early medieval England and France, raiding the Anglian kingdoms of Northumbria and Wessex on many occasions, along with the kingdom of West Francia, including in the siege of Paris in 884 AD. Now, furthermore, he's also thought to have been married 3 times, first to shield maiden Lagertha, second to the noblewoman Pora Borgar Quark, and last but not least to Princess Aslog. Each of these women have their own interesting stories. Aslog, for example, is said to be the daughter of the dragon slayer Sigurd and the Valkyrie Brynhild, and Pora was the daughter of the Jarl Herod of Goteland, the town he saved from the aforementioned dragon. Ragnar's existence can also be proven through his many sons, all historical figures. Ivar the Boneless, Bjorn Ironside, Halfdan Ragnarsson, Sigurd Snake in the Eye, and Ubba, the Norse chieftains who would eventually lead the great heathen army that would invade England, controlling and constituting it as a unified medieval state from 865 to 878 AD, after which the Danelaw was created. It was a territory under Danish influence and rule in early medieval Britain. Radgar's sons invaded England to avenge their father's murder at the hands of King Aella of Northumbria, who, according to legend, sees Ragnar at some point decided to sentence him to death by casting him into a pit of snakes. If the story is true, though many doubt it, suggesting it's more likely Ragnar died somewhere along the Irish Sea between 852 and 856 AD, that boastful Ragnar Lothbrok really headed into battle with just 2 ships to face the king, it would fit right in with his semi-mythical persona. Stories say Lothbrok's sons avenged their father's death by capturing King Aella. Now, Ragnar Lothbrok, the TV series hero. History Channel's Vikings is a historical drama loosely based on facts and Norse sagas, and despite the undeniable awesomeness of the series, the great acting, and the immense success of the show, there are some glaring inaccuracies and that any history buff can easily spot. Does this mean that the show is not good? Of course not. The show is truly good, and if it hasn't gotten your attention yet, you should start watching it immediately. Season 6, said to be the final season, will kick off later this year. Clarifying some stories that stray from the truth. Just make sure you don't take everything you'll see literally, because there are issues with the historical accuracy of the plot at times, Ragnar being involved in many of them. To begin with, Ragnar's brother Rollo is a character based on the Norwegian Viking Gang Rolf, the man who became the first ruler of Normandy. He's recorded to be the first Norse leader to settle in Francia, and he continued to reign until at least 928 AD. His descendants became known as the Normans, lending their name to the region of France called Normandy, which is north of France. He's also the great-great-great-grandfather of William the Conqueror, also known as William I of England, which means that Rollo is one of the ancestors of the present-day British royal family. He was born in 846, died in 930 AD, so not only was he not Ragnar's brother, but he also gets included in events that occurred before he was even born. Fans of the series probably remember Ragnar and his crew raiding a monastery on Lindisfarne, a tidal island off the northeast coast of what is today England, during the first season, a real raid that took place in 793. And for the record, is viewed by many historians as the beginning of the Viking Age. Then in season 3, Ragnar and his crew have not aged a bit and attack Paris, an event that took place the year 845 and again 885, over 50 or 90 years after the sacking of Lindisfarne Monastery. In other words, Ragnar and his fellow Vikings must have invented a time travel machine that the history books don't tell us about. And last but not least, the show depicts Ragnar as being charmed by the Christian faith, but in reality was never baptized, as the series depicts, as mass conversions of Danish Vikings did not happen until nearly a century later. He also does not seem to be a very religious person in the series. He liked Athelstan very much and wanted to know more about his god out of curiosity. When Athelstan was killed by Floki, he didn't forgive him easily. He buried Athelstan and even constructed a simple grave cross out of respect. However, it's certain that when Ragnar fought against the Christians, he probably deeply believed that his gods helped him, and even if he appreciated Athelstan as a person and friend, it wasn't that he believed in him like the Christian God, but rather believed in Athelstan's qualities as a human being. So the question remains, was Ragnar a real person? Judging from Norse sagas and lore, it would be safe to conclude that Ragnar Lothbrok most likely existed, but has much to do with the legend surrounding him as a real man who inspired Hercules, has to do with the stories revolving around him. This was from Ancient Origins, published here under Creative Commons on Collective Spark. Please leave your comments and thank you for your support.